Alright, this video is going to serve as a point of reflection for myself. I'm not sure if I'm going to release it. If I do, it's going to be to my Twitter. Um, I don't mind if it gets out to other people as well outside my Twitter, but it's mainly just for myself. And then if I do post it, it's because this might be something that resonates with some people, and they might find some common grounds or might find some things that they can take out of it as well to help themselves. Basically, I'll introduce myself first. My name's Thisera. You guys might know me as Arctic. Um, I am coming up on 26 years old and I work full time at the moment in a managerial role, and I study part time uh, masters. And guess I'm going to get into the reason why I'm making this video, and it's because I guess the COVID situation, also friendships slash relationships in my life changing, has kind of made me come to a realization that there are issues in my life that I've kind of been suppressing and definitely need attention. These issues, I guess, have manifested in anxiety, mostly social, and also I think depression as well. Um, been to a psychologist, and I think the assessment that they had was that there are symptoms of depression. Um, I'll try and keep this as concise as possible, and I'll put timestamps in the video as well for those people who are impatient. I can definitely understand that. Uh, and also feel free to play it back on whatever speed you want to make it faster. Um, I don't know who will watch this, if no one will watch this, if a lot of people will watch this. I'm kind of just doing this for myself. Um, so I guess I'll get into where everything started. So basically, I'm first generation Australian. Um, my parents moved here in the late 80s to Australia, and they bought a house, the one that we currently live in. I still live in it at the moment with them and my sister, who is 4 years younger than me. And um, my dad had a medical condition um, from birth, so he had a thing in his brain which caused it to clot, like the blood to clot, and basically, um, I think one of my parents is outside at the moment. Um, but basically, what it did was it caused one of the vessels in his brain to clot, and if it wasn't operated on, he would burst and he'd probably have severe brain damage or die instantly. Um, this is something that his family knew about for a long time, and he had medical episodes when he was in high school as well. But my mum wasn't aware of it. Um, even after they got married, she wasn't aware of it. When they moved over here, his family kind of, from her accounts at least, I'm not sure because she's the only account I have for this. Her family, I mean his family, tried to get him to hide it from her, and my mum says that she found letters from his sister saying that he should not tell her about his medical condition. Basically, what ended up happening was he had medical episodes while he was in Australia, and then when they had brain scans, they found out that it was getting pretty big, the blood clot, and that they needed to operate. And this diagnosis was made when I was in kindergarten, I think, and my sister was just 2 months old. And yeah, they operated on him, and they operated on him not immediately but later on. And um, basically, due to medical negligence, the operation didn't go as planned, and he had a severe stroke afterwards, which left him partially paralyzed in one side of his body, and also unable to speak properly, have motor skills properly. I think he was in a coma for quite a while, and he was on life support, and they didn't know whether he was gonna survive. Um, but he did. But he had a lot of intensive therapy and rehab, and he's improved a lot, but he'll never be back to what he was before his operation. Um, and as a result, Mum had to take on the responsibilities. We just had a new mortgage on the house that we bought. Mum had to take on responsibilities there, and she went to work for a bit. But that was obviously too difficult with 2 young kids, so she became a stay-at-home mum, and basically we lived off government benefits for the whole time. Um, she, I have no idea how she did it, but she managed to restructure the home loan and make ends meet through just government benefits, living very frugally. Um, but obviously that's taken a toll on her, and um, she didn't have a lot of capacity to do things, which included taking me to social events, and I just kind of just stopped asking her as well because I knew that it was a source of undue stress for her because she didn't have those support networks. We don't have any family here in Australia. Um, I think we've got one family of cousins, and they live about an hour away. So that wasn't an option for support networks, and we don't live in an area where the community that I'm from, the Sri Lankan community, there isn't that much of a presence here. And so basically that ended up happening, and so because I didn't really go to many social events because it just meant a lot more stress on mum, I didn't really develop those social skills as well as I should have when I was younger. And then as a downstream effect, it's kind of affected me all throughout my life up until this point, obviously, as well. Um, and also mum kind of had a lot of loss of friendships with people because I guess they weren't willing to stick it out with a woman and her husband, who was obviously very, very disabled. And so we lost a lot of friends there. I guess fair weather friends, you might call them. Um, if you're not familiar with the term fair weather friends, it's when people are kind of around when everything is going fine and stuff, but then when things go sideways, they just disappear into thin air. Um, and so that led to a lot of stuff with mum being distrusting of people, um, and having the mentality that people will always be there to laugh at you and stuff like that when things don't go well for you, and that you need to get things done right, otherwise people will laugh at you and stuff like that. and to be very secretive or secluded about your life as well, just so people don't have that many points of attack to kind of lay against you. And yeah, that's basically how it was. And so, because obviously my parents had a stressed relationship after mum not finding out for a long time that dad had medical issues, um, their relationship's obviously very, very broken. And to this day, they won't even talk to each other directly for a lot of the time when mum wants to get something across to dad in terms of just a simple message about something being ready, like food being ready in the house, or whether he needs something done. She'll always go through myself or my sister as a proxy, um, which is really sad, to be honest. After what, like 30 or 40 years of marriage, they still can't talk to each other directly. And I guess it wasn't like that before everything happened, but these things happen. Um, and so yeah, basically my job as a kid was to get through school as best as I could, and then land a good job, and then everything else would pan out. And as you can tell, that is not the case because I'm making this video. Um, yeah, it's kind of ended up being mum saying that people would always be there to laugh at you when you're down, and as a result, that's kind of culminated in just becoming a lot of insecurities for myself. Um, so I guess in terms of insecurities or issues that I've got, there's a number of things. I've got insecurities about my looks. Um, it seems quite vain, but in terms of my physical appearance, after high school, I put on a fair amount of weight just from eating as a kind of way to cope with stress, I guess. Um, let myself get to about 96 kilos, and then not until this year have I actually tried to change that properly. Like, I tried a lot of times, and uh, always gone back to just eating to kind of subdue my stress. In the last 8 weeks or so, I've managed to drop about 13 kilos, 13 kilos, and it really shows. I'm really proud of that, at least. I'm definitely not planning on stopping there. But in terms of other physical attributes which I'm not happy about, my teeth. So as you can see, my face is not symmetrical, and I guess that's such a shallow thing to worry about. Um, but I'm very critical about myself, and that's one of my biggest insecurities. Like, scientifically, symmetrical features do come across as more appealing, even if the person doesn't have that outstanding features overall. It's just shown that people with symmetrical features are generally perceived as more attractive. And putting the science aside, I definitely find that as well in myself and other people. And I guess one of the causes for my face not being very as symmetrical as I'd like is my jaw, the alignment of my jaw. Um, I used to have braces, and after I had braces, I had a retainer, and so after I had my retainer, my wisdom teeth came through, and I didn't wear my retainer as long as I should have. So I guess it's a combination of both me not wearing my retainer, but then my wisdom teeth are also pushing my teeth out of line. And I guess the problem is that I sometimes find myself like I'm just like really feeling myself kind of thing. and then I'll take a selfie, or the preview of this OBS recording shows me what the other side sees, and I'm just like, holy fuck, how are you so ugly? Like, to describe it would be like, I feel like I look like Quasimodo. And that's a bit of an exaggeration. Like, that might seem like a bit of an exaggeration, but that's how my mind perceives it. Um, Other sources of insecurities, my eyesight. Without glasses, I'm very, very short-sighted. I don't really care about that as much as my facial appearance, but it is definitely a source of insecurity. Um, what else? My voice. I've definitely got used to this a lot more, but when I listen to my voice, it's just like, what is that kind of thing? It's like, your voice sounds deep and fine when you're listening to yourself just talking out loud, but when you hear yourself back, it's just like, are you serious? You actually sound like that? And I know that's something that a lot of people also echo that sentiment. But yeah, it's still something that gets me a bit, not as much as it used to, because I've got used to hearing my voice back a lot more now that I've started working and hearing myself on recordings. Um, what other insecurities do I have? Uh, I'm not a very good dancer, and I guess there are quite a few people who are not very good dancers. Like, I can't dance for shit. Give me a choreographed piece and I can do it. I've done that before, but just like out of the dance floor or anything like that, I could not do anything for my life. Um, and yeah, and another source is my ability as a swimmer. So I can swim. I'm not a very good swimmer. I can't tread water. It's not something that I learnt as a kid. And being in Australia, obviously, water-oriented activities is something that quite a few people are into. And yeah, it's a bit of a source of stress for me. Uh, what other issues outside of insecurities do I have? I have a legitimate fear of failure and disappointing people. I guess that's just a result of my upbringing and my mum always kind of pushing me and comparing me to other people. Um, it's always like a you're not good enough kind of thing. It's it's not really okay. You've achieved this much. Well done. It's more of a why didn't you go that extra step kind of thing. Um, and that was just like I don't know. It was hard because I thrive off people reinforcing things that are positive. And I also love doing that for other people as well. Like, I get so much joy out of seeing people succeed and also telling them that they're doing great. But it's not something that I was brought up with myself. And I guess it's because my mum's childhood, that wasn't kind of the culture that they had as well, where the parents would kind of positively reinforce the good things that they were doing in their life. It's just like, no, you should be doing it anyways for yourself, kind of thing. Um, and I just don't, I just don't respond to that kind of approach very well. Uh, so that's the fear to disappoint there, and the fear of failure is just the way that I've always perceived it through, I guess, my mum is that um, there's a right way to do things, and there's 1,000 possible ways you can do things wrong. And so that kind of makes you freeze up and overanalyze things and make you afraid to do things for the fear of you failing 1,000 possible ways and only have one instance where it's a success. And that's something that I've learnt recently is not the case. There is no absolute failure in 1,000 ways and then only one way that it succeeds. There can be ways that it succeeds, not to the degree that you'd hope it would, but succeeds at least a bit to a satisfactory level. But it's still something that I'm coming to terms with. And yeah, I guess that is the reason why I've become a person who overanalyzes a lot. Because I always simulate the ways that things could go before I do it, so I can try and figure out the best way to approach things. And that can leave me being scared to do things in the first place, or doing things and then coming out with not the expected results and being utterly disappointed. And yeah, it's kind of held me back quite a bit. And I guess me having this upbringing where it's just like, do well in school, get a good job, everything else will come along later on kind of thing, has made me approach things like it's a linear approach. Like, okay, people won't accept me for being a person, at least a person with qualities, until I've achieved this, this, and this kind of thing. And where I find myself now after having a degree, being in a master's degree and doing decently at it, and having a decent job as well, is that my whole personality revolves around my work and my academics. And I guess when I have the slightest chance of developing friendships and stuff like that, I have such a sense of imposter syndrome, because I'm there and it's just like, dude, other than your academics and your work, what do you have? Like, you don't have shit. And that really, really tears at me. And I've spoken to a few people about this recently, and they say that I've got qualities outside of it, and I struggle to see any qualities outside of the stuff that I've achieved. And it just eats at me to think that I've gone 26 years and basically the only thing I have to show for it is a degree and maybe another one very soon and a job. But outside of that, there's nothing to enjoy really. So yeah, it's really tough. And the friendships that I do have, like, they're really nice, but they don't seem adequate enough for me, and they've obviously got lives as well, so obviously I don't want things to revolve around me, and I do want to make a lot more friends and develop more meaningful friendships. But at the same time, I don't, like, every friendship that I get into, it's just like, what benefit do I add to their lives kind of thing. I've always have that mentality. It's just like, what do I have to bring to the table? And yeah, so I've got a lot to work on in that aspect. I still don't know how I'm going to approach that. I guess the next point to move on to is, I guess the moment of realization. So I had a friend have had, I don't know what's going on, but basically we just started talking. She's from North America, and I've never got to meet her, because obviously I stick to what's safe, but at the same time, obviously the whole world can't travel at the moment. Definitely was something of a hope that I could travel abroad in the near future and just see friends that I've developed online, because there are a few friends that I've developed online as well as her. Um, Basically, we just started talking and we shared similar interests in music, humor, and yeah, just kept on talking about those kind of things, and then that developed into talking about each other's lives a lot more, and sharing things that basically both myself and perhaps herself haven't talked about, to a lot of other people, and developed a really deep connection, I guess. And that went on for about 6 or 7 months. And 6 or 7 months later, here we find myself, um, North America, obviously. Some places have opened up quite a bit after COVID restrictions, and um, people are getting back to their lives in full capacity, including things like going out and being social, working, and those kind of things. And basically, that friendship's drifted apart, and definitely brought it up. And the response that I got was, yeah, life's getting in the way. This friendship's no longer gonna, I mean, this friendship won't go further than messaging, so it's not something that can be held up on at least her end, um, which I understand in a sense, but it just hurts because it's someone that you spoke to for, like, this shit sounds so cliche and I don't care, but someone that you spoke to day in and day out for such an extended period of time, and the things that you managed to get comfortable with sharing and stuff like that, that kind of holds a lot of sentimental value. Um, and so, yeah, just get used to having that kind of constant ticking over of conversation. And in the space of maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, it just goes and it's all gone. And when I brought it up, I don't know, like, I feel like she's a good person, but the way the tone came through was that it's fine if you don't feel like this friendship's worth carrying on anymore. Um, Sorry about it, but at the same time, it didn't feel like both parties wanted to continue that friendship kind of thing. Um, and obviously, I've got mixed emotions because the things that we shared, the ways that we spoke, didn't really fit the mold of just a friendship. It definitely turned in, like, the language definitely turned into something that felt like more than a friendship, but at the same time, definitely need to tame your expectations because there's such a geographical distance. Um, and so we didn't really speak for a week after that, and then after that, I kind of told her that I've got my issues that I need to work through, and she was very understanding about that, and which I'm really thankful for. Uh, but she said it's probably best if we just don't talk, and I agree. Um, Not talking is probably the best approach, but me being the person who analyzes a lot and reads into things and tries to figure everything out, I can't help but feel like it is convenient at the same time if she's moved on from that friendship, or at least to the level that it was, and then this is convenient that I need to go and focus on myself. Um, and it's been a week since that message was last sent, and I haven't tried speaking to her because I definitely need to kind of distance myself. But at the same time, over that week from last Friday to today, I've kept on thinking about it, and I've definitely had like that in my mind all the time, and I guess a sense of hope that we'll start speaking again. But when I look at the messages, it's just like, is this just a false sense of hope kind of thing? Um, and so when she said that if it if a fulfilling friendship isn't really if a friendship that isn't fulfilling is something that I can't handle, then that's fine and we can end the friendship. Um, and that kind of hurts a lot as well, just to feel like at least I'm a person who values loyalty so much. Um, and it just feels like one party was just ready to let everything go straight away, as if everything that happened before that didn't matter at all. Um, and yeah, that hurts a lot. Like, that's probably one of the reasons why I don't try and put myself in situations where I can get hurt, because getting hurt sucks so fucking bad. Um, and yeah, I was just like, we've got each other on a few social media accounts added on each other, and today I was just like, well, what are you honestly waiting for? Are you waiting for her to message you out of the blue, just be like, hey, are you okay? Or when your birthday comes around, hey, happy birthday. Um, and it's just like, why are you holding on to that kind of level of hope? Like, this isn't good. You need to move past it. But at the same time, after I've unfollowed her on all those social media accounts, it does feel a bit liberating. But at the same time, you still get that sinking feeling, because you just feel like you've closed off a door to something where you felt like you had something special with a friend or whatever it ended up being, and it feels like you're just slamming it shut. And I mean, for her, it might not mean anything, and she might be moving on and she'll never look back, kind of thing. Which still kind of hurts, but that's definitely a possibility. And yeah, um, I guess I'll have to try and keep on figuring out how I deal with that kind of thing, because it's not going to be the first, it's not going to be the last time that this is going to happen in my life. It's just the way that I figure out how to cope with it. Um, I guess moving on for that, what am I doing to overcome these issues that I've got? Uh, I've started speaking to a lot more people. Um, Basically, I think it was 2 weeks ago now, maybe just under 2 weeks ago, but when this cause of stress in my life was at its peak, um, I kind of was just like, if you keep on going this way, like 26 years, you've been alive for almost 26 years and shit's been fucking shit. And 5 more years of this is just not something that you're going to be equipped for. Like, previously in my life, I've thought about just taking the easy way out. Not this time though. But there have been points in my life where I thought there was an easy way out, but then the thought of, like, my sister is such a rock in my life. Sorry, I didn't mean to blow into the microphone. Yeah, she's such a source of strength in my life because we definitely came up with the same difficulties. Um, she's handled it a lot better than me, obviously. But yeah, I basically went to her and bawled my eyes out and just explained everything. And she was just like, talk to people about it, keep talking to her about it, talk to professionals about it. And so what I'm doing, I've spoken to more people than I probably ever thought I'd speak to about this kind of thing. Um, that includes my manager, my old manager, who is still in the same company, and they're very understanding. I can't believe I work with such good people who are so understanding. Like, some workplaces would just be like, what the fuck's going on? Get your shit together kind of thing, but not this workplace. And I've spoken to a few other people as well. Um, I've started reaching out to some of my old friends as well because they there are such good people that were friends during my high school years that I kind of just like shunned away because I wasn't in a good place and willing to accept their invitations to be outgoing and social. But some of them have not changed one bit and they're willing to talk to me and go over all of the things that I've got going on in my life. And just yesterday I went to my GP and got a mental health care plan set up, and um, going back to a clinical psychologist that I saw for a few sessions, I think back in 2016 or 2017. And hopefully, I guess seeing that professional help will also help me process things in my life. Sorry about that. Um, but yeah, so I've definitely got a lot better at expressing my emotions and identifying where my issues lie compared to back when I was with that clinical psychologist in 2016, 2017. So hopefully these sessions are more productive and we get somewhere, but ultimately it's going to be up to me to kind of get used to getting out of my comfort zone because I've always stuck to what's comfortable, and that's kind of been detrimental for me, um, as you can see. And yeah, um, that's basically what I've got at the moment in terms of what I'm doing to overcome things. Because unlike most of the world, my part of the world is locked down to the point where you can't even go more than 5 kilometers, or I guess in American standard that's about 3.5 miles from your house to do anything, and it has to be just essential daily things as well because of the coronavirus still being pretty big here. Um, and those lockdown restrictions are set to end after my birthday, so I can't get out and do anything for my birthday. I've never been one to kind of value my birthday at all because I guess you need decent friends to celebrate a birthday with, and I haven't really developed that. Um, and also just wasn't something that took a lot of priority with all the shit going on in my life, with my childhood. So that kind of took a backseat, and it was not really a big event ever in my life. Um, yeah, so the last kind of thing I identified, where do I hope to be when I'm 30 or earlier? And that's only about 4 years away now. I want to have completed my master's degree. Um, that's something that I've put a lot of effort into. I want to be financially stable, because that's something that my family didn't really have when I was growing up, being immigrants as well as having all of this stuff going on in my life. I don't want to worry about money going forward. Um, but outside of those academic and work related things, the thing that I so want is to have friends that I don't have to worry about being fair weather friends. And obviously that's unavoidable, but I just want to have friends that are kind of ride or die kind of situation. People that are loyal and won't kind of just drop everything and leave. And people who'll be there for you in a heartbeat kind of thing. Because I'm the kind of person where I cannot do that for people. But I don't try and open myself up to a lot of people because I'm not sure whether they'd be the same kind of people. Um, and yeah, that's really difficult. I can't believe I've been talking for about 40 minutes now. But yeah, I just want to have a good support network of people that I can rely on, even if it's not a relationship, just a lot of friendships that I can rely on. Um, but yeah, that's basically, I've said my piece. So I'm not sure if anyone will watch this through to the end, but if you feel like anything's kind of resonated with you, um, feel free to reach out. I don't do this because I want pity from people. It's just I do this because I want something to reflect on myself, and if anyone else finds it useful, that'll be good for them. Um, I've been the kind of person that's been always open to speaking to people about their issues, but I've never been good at also recognizing my issues and doing things to address them. I've been a person who loves making people laugh and also just being a jovial person in general because I don't like being surrounded by negativity. But also, I guess some of it is a coping mechanism for when I'm feeling down. So, yeah, thank you for watching this video, and I'm not sure whether I'll post it, but if I do post it, it will be not tonight, and it won't be tomorrow night, Saturday, because my friend's birthday is tomorrow, and he follows me on Twitter, and I on the off chance he sees this, I don't want him to have that hanging over his head while we're trying to enjoy ourselves. So, um, yeah, we'll see when this gets posted and if it ever gets posted.